Welcome back to The Explainer. So today, we're stepping right into a world that is just incredibly nostalgic and honestly, universally beloved. We're unpacking the magical, totally chaotic, and always entertaining universe of Doraemon. Whether you actually grew up watching these characters or you're just fascinated by brilliant storytelling structures, we're going to break down exactly how this series manages to be so captivating episode after episode. We'll be looking at some specific moments from the source material that perfectly highlight the genius behind the show's narrative loops. Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Because if there is one absolute universal truth in the world of Doraemon, it's that Nobita is in trouble. And, it usually starts with a test score. That classic line, "Forgive me, it seems Nobita got 0 marks on his test again." It's iconic, right? This hilarious eternal struggle of Nobita facing his mother's absolute wrath after failing yet again is the perfect starting point for almost every single adventure. He fails, he panics, and he immediately looks for a way out.
Which naturally leads us to this central question. Will Nobita's troubles ever actually end? Well, spoiler alert, no. No, they won't. And that's exactly why we love it. His endless pursuit of shortcuts to solve everyday problems is literally the engine that drives the entire series. It's never just about a futuristic robot cat. It's really about human nature. We all want an easy way out sometimes, and Nobita, he's the ultimate representation of that desire.
So, let's look at the framework for today's explainer. Almost every classic Doraemon story follows this exact 4-step arc. First, the catalyst, which is usually a mundane problem. Second, the intervention, involving a gadget. Third, the escalation, where that gadget gets misused. And finally, the resolution, where everything crashes down and a life lesson is learned. Pretty simple, right? Let's see this formula in action.
Starting with Section 1, Magical Gadgets of Emotion.
Okay, picture this. It's a freezing cold day and Nobita is shivering. And not just from the weather, but from the chilling sadness of failing yet another test. So to help him out, Doraemon introduces a gadget that literally turns emotional energy into physical temperature. The mechanics are simple but absolutely brilliant. Happiness generates heat, while sadness brings freezing cold. Doraemon tells him, hey, to stay warm, just stay happy. So Nobita starts forcing himself to laugh, thinking about stuff like Dora cakes, basically trying to artificially hack his own body temperature.
But of course, then comes the escalation. Nobita is feeling all warm and confident until his mom stumbles upon a very familiar sight. Yep, a hidden test paper with a massive 0 on it. The sudden shock, the immense fear, and the sheer dread that wash over Nobita instantly override his forced happiness. The gadget reacts to this extreme negative emotion and boom, he literally freezes solid and faints right there on the floor. That shortcut to warmth completely backfires the second reality hits.
Moving on to Section 2, The Mother's Fascinating Cooking Rivalry. You see, it's not just the kids who fall into this trap of escalation. The adults in this universe are just as susceptible to the chaos. Just look at the contrast between these two mothers. On one hand, we have Nobita's mom, frugal, practical, teaching her kids to find joy in small things. And on the other, Sunio's mom, who is constantly boasting about her expensive, high-end ingredients. Well, a simple trip to the supermarket escalates into an all-out, fierce race through the aisles. Both of them are absolutely determined to prove who is the superior cook.
But what's great is that the resolution here is incredibly heartwarming. After all that frantic racing and competitive cooking, they basically hit a wall. They realize their intense rivalry has completely overshadowed the actual point of making dinner. Like the quote says, they remember that they cook for their families, not to fight with each other. It's a beautiful twist. Instead of declaring a winner, they just decide to combine their dishes and make this amazing meal for everyone.
Next up, Section 3, The Rapper Taxi and Jin.
So for this story, Nobita is tasked with fetching some highly anticipated comic books from his friend Moriyama's house. But naturally, his extreme laziness kicks in. Enter the intervention, the Rapper Taxi. Now, it looks like a simple piece of trash on the ground, but anyone who steps on it becomes an involuntary driver. They literally have to physically carry the passenger and obey their commands. Nobita thinks he's a total genius. First, he tries to trick Shizuka into stepping on it, but she's way too weak to carry him. Then he tries a strong stranger. But actually, scratch that. That guy desperately needed the bathroom, which made it a complete disaster.
So the real turning point is when Jian accidentally steps on the wrapper. At first, Nobita is absolutely thrilled. He's got the strongest kid in the neighborhood as his personal chauffeur. But Jian quickly realizes the gadget's ultimate rule. The driver cannot disobey the passenger.
However, there is absolutely nothing stopping the driver from making the ride a complete nightmare, and Jian weaponizes this immediately.
Instead of heading to the comic book house, Giant just starts barking out his own commands, forcing this terrifying high-speed detour. He yells left as he uses his sheer physical dominance to totally hijack the situation, forcing a terrified Nobita to hold on for dear life as they literally sprint toward a lost baseball.
And then, right! The pacing here is just so fast and chaotic. Nobita is helplessly trapped on Jian's back, being bounced all around town while Jian completely ignores the original destination. Nobita's brilliant attempt at a lazy shortcut has spectacularly backfired, turning what should have been a relaxing ride into total physical and mental exhaustion.
Faster! Jian screams, just flat out refusing to let Nobita off the ride. The escalation here is at its absolute peak. So how does it resolve? Honestly, pure luck. Jian's mother suddenly spots them and yells at Jian to get home and help his sister, Jaiko. The sudden shock forces Jian to accidentally say the release words, finally dropping a deeply traumatized Nobita straight to the ground. The lesson? Yeah, definitely don't exploit your friends as taxis.
Finally, Section 4. Past Memories and Magical Sketches.
This final act beautifully blends a classic school homework trope with a super relatable family dispute. The catalyst starts with a familiar setup. The kids are assigned to sketch a landscape. Immediately, Nobita is intimidated because, let's face it, he has zero drawing skills. To make matters worse, Tsuneo is bragging about his fancy French sketch pad, waving it around to show off his wealth. Meanwhile, Dekasugi, the perpetual overachiever, effortlessly creates a flawless, superior drawing without even trying, so Nobita is desperate to save face and impress Shizuka.
But back home, he walks into a completely different conflict. His dad and uncle are fiercely arguing about the layout of their childhood town from 30 years ago. One insists the stamp shop was next to the bookstore. The other is absolutely certain the barber shop was in the middle. To settle the debate, Doraemon brings out the Anytime, Anywhere sketch gadget. It instantly prints a historically accurate 30-year-old layout of the street. And humorously enough, it proves both of their memories were completely wrong.
Nobita, seeing this flawless, instant drawing, immediately sees his shortcut. He steals the gadget to easily print a beautiful portrait of Shizuka. But in classic Nobita fashion, he totally misuses it. Since he doesn't know how to set the time and location dials properly, he ends up printing embarrassing secrets, like his mom secretly eating snacks and capturing completely wrong timelines and places. The ultimate resolution? Well, Doraemon actually has a spare sketchbox linked to the first one. It prints out every single mistake Nobita makes, exposing his cheating entirely to everyone. Busted.
Which really leaves us with this final thought to ponder. If you had a magic gadget to solve your daily chores, would it actually make your life easier, or would it just create a whole host of new problems? The brilliance of Doraemon lies in showing us, time and time again, that taking the easy way out usually leads to the most memorable disasters. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope you enjoyed analyzing this timeless formula as much as I did.